Hello everyone, Daniel here from the Next Issue Podcast. On today's video, I'll be doing a review for Pine and Merrimac #1 from Boom Studios. This is a new comic book, so let's check out the creative team here. This is written by Kyle Starks, who is an amazing writer. He's done a lot of stuff that we really like in the podcast, so I'm very glad to see a new book by Starks. Illustrated by Frank Galan, lettered by Pat Brousseau, with some variant covers that we'll see at the end of the video. Stay tuned for those. Now, what is this book all about? Well, first of all, Pine and Merrimac are not even the names of our characters, which it's a little fun gag that's in there. So let's talk about this. On the corner of Pine and Merrimac sits a small, unassuming town, just a simple place, simple people, and one horrifying secret that could change everything. After a lifetime of witnessing the worst of humanity has to offer, former homicide detective Linnea Kent and has decided to put all that behind her alongside her husband, a former professional MMA fighter, and the unofficial brawn to her brains. She's moved far from the busy city to open up a quiet little detective agency. At first, the simple cases this nook of the world has to offer were exactly what she was looking for, but there's more to the quaint hamlet that Linnea could have ever imagined, and something truly sinister pulling the strings. Eisner-nominated scribe Kyle Starks from Fuck This Place and Creepshow is joined by fan favorite artist Frank Galan for an unexpected detective tale perfect for readers of Reckless and the Department of Truth. I can definitely see those connections uh, after reading the issue. So very cool stuff. Now let's talk about the story here. Kyle Starks is very good at just kind of building out the world in just a few pages, and you'll see some of that in the beginning of the issue. Matter of fact, if you go to like the Omnibus app or something like that, you can see most of those pages as the preview, so you can get a little bit of a feel for the story. Highly recommend you check out Omnibus. I think it's a great app. Has some really cool. Has a lot of pages for previews for issues, which I really appreciate. But this is a really interesting story of this couple, of all the hardships that they've gone through, the reason that they've came together, and how they are trying to moving forward with their lives. So Kyle Starks really built that out in just about 5 pages that I'll show you in the previews. And from there, we get the actual story, right? We get kicked off of like, what are they doing? Who needs them? Who will they help? And why? Like there's still a lot of stuff that they are working through. And I think this next case that they're gonna be by the end of the issue might be one that is the most important in their lives. So they really enjoy that. Now, another thing that really complements this book is this fantastic art. I had not seen a lot of Galan's work prior to this, but boy, oh boy, I love this painterly style. It's not really watercolors, but it's definitely like a light brush, something like it just feels like a really nice wash over everything. A lot of really cool details. I love how we just get introduced to the characters. We get to learn about their backgrounds, right? Lena unfortunately lost her sister when she was a kid, and now that's got one what prompted her to become a detective. But after seeing so many messed up things, luckily she was able to meet her husband Parker. So yeah, very cool stuff. I really enjoyed this issue, and as you can see, just some beautiful art until we get to the corner of Pine and Merrimac. So very cool stuff. I really enjoyed this issue, and I just can't wait to see where we go from here, because this book leaves off in a big cliffhanger. I will say that it definitely hooks you, and I really thought it was a good way to end the issue. Very strong, this #1. It really has everything that I'm looking for, especially mentioning the books like Reckless and the Department of Truth. There's a little bit of conspiracy stuff going on. There's definitely a lot of like really kind of messed up things that we get hints of throughout the world building. And of course, we have a detective story, which is really what the Reckless books are all about. So perfect comparison. Normally, I I don't always agree when they say this is kind of a mixture of this and this, but I think these were very accurate. So Boom Studios definitely letting you know, especially because they're even using examples that are not published by them by Boom, right? Which I think it's very interesting, but I think it's a very good way to kind of promote your book. So As I mentioned, really cool covers at the end of the video. Stay tuned for that. So, if you have read this book, let me know what you thought about it down in the comments. Shout out to Kyle Starks. We have reached out to him in the past, and hopefully we can get him on the channel at some point, somehow, some way. Yeah, a lot of really cool stuff hopefully coming in 2024, and this is an amazing way to kick things off for comic book wise. So. Hello everyone, Daniel here from the Next Issue Podcast. On today's video, I'll be doing a review for The Space Between #3. This is a new book from Boom Studios, the continuation of the story when kind of following along. This is definitely another big time jump in the Dona. So let's take a look at the creative team before we get into that. This book is written by Corinna Becco, with art by Danny Luckert and letters by Jim Campbell. We'll see some variant covers at the end of the video as well. Stay tuned for that. In this issue, 10 years after B and Perry's story began, the Dodona is in trouble, potentially even drifting off course. Even minor miscalculations can spell disaster. So this ship, the Dodona, has been going through generations on a journey to bring its passengers to their new home. So that's kind of what we have here. There's a very interesting societal structure that has been changing over the years, and that's kind of one of the things that the issues focus on. So this picks up 10 years after the last issue. Peace is hard to come by when under such pressure. It will take everyone working together, putting aside the notion of winners and losers to build an ideal society moving forward, if the ship is moving forward at all. So yeah, on top of the issues happening inside the ship, we also have the ship maybe has veered off course, and like those things are really hard to like correct once you're in there in this world, right? Because even the slightest miscalculation can get you guys stranded. So let's talk about this issue. I will issue a content warning for suicide. I do want to mention that. I think it's important to put that out there. I don't want anybody jumping into this issue specifically without opening the book and maybe being, confronted by that. So I really enjoyed this issue. I think I like this one better than issue 2 because I felt more involved with the characters, right? We were already following B in Paris, but now we're introduced to new characters that will kind of continue the story, move it forward along. Because we only jumped 10 years, of course, a lot of the characters that we've known are part of this, but we can see how their society has evolved, how their lives have evolved, the roles have changed in the ship. So all that stuff. Becco's world building continues all throughout. It never stops in the ship. As the ship moves forward, Becco and Looker's the story, like world building, just continues, and I think they do that very efficiently while still giving us a really interesting story, a bit of a mystery as to how we're going to solve this, and of course, we have a lot of the societal and politics that play within the ship. Of this, the structure of this ship and how these people live their lives. So another thing that really brings this to make it an excellent issue is Looker's art. It's always been amazing, but I feel like it just kind of keeps evolving, and I think the time jumps have a lot to do with that. Even the ship feels a little bit different. I feel like we visit different parts of the ship after that. The characters continue to grow, and just little details like you can see here. B's wearing an a wedding ring, so that so we know that they're a couple. As I mentioned, there's some big things happening to some of the people here. There's a lot of dogs, which I love. I love Looker just throwing in a bunch of different kinds of dogs. That's very cool. And then also really cool to see how, even though they are in the ship, they try to emulate like an outside type of world. Even if they struggle with like getting food and rations and stuff like that, they still find some happier moments. So yeah, this book, it's very cool. Just I really love the storytelling. I really love the art. Everything just really comes together for me on this one. So highly enjoy this one. And matter of fact, I'm enjoying it very much monthly because it's not because of these time jumps. The book gives you enough context from the previous one to kind of let you know where you're picking up, but you're following new characters and kind of new problems overall. So like it's almost like an anthology, but not really fully anthology, right? Everything is kind of connected thematically and then also happening in the same place in the Dodona. which is the name of the ship. So really cool stuff. So hello everyone, Daniel here from the Next Issue Podcast. On today's video, I'll be doing a review for Unnatural Order number 2. This is a new book from VaultComics. Let's take a look at the creative team before we get into this book. This book is written by Christopher Yost with art by Val Rodriguez, colors by Dearbla Kelly, and letters by Annual Design. If you haven't picked this up, go check it out at your shop. They might have issue number 1 was given out for free, so they still might have some of these. It did come out about a month ago, so but ask your shop, maybe they still have some. Now in this issue, in a world of blood, magic, and monsters, a second sun rises in the sky. Here, Idok, the druid who we met in the first issue, rules all, but despite his power, one man threatens Idok's reign. A prisoner named Murkta, freed from the burning fields of the druid's enemies. Murkta is on the run and marked for death because in a world turned inside out, Murkta has another name, a secret that could change everything. So I will start with this. There's a lot happening in this book. So when you're reading, you have to kind of pay attention and keep track of this. I think this book will benefit from me doing a reread once it's all like kind of completed, or maybe like the first arc. But it's very interesting. So I definitely wanted to at least check out the second issue, and maybe I'm gonna definitely read the third one as well before I decide whether I want to trade weight this or kind of keep going. Because this book has a lot going for it. It has a really cool premise. I love the sci-fi technological aspect of this. There's a lot of action that happens. I really love how they are kind of bringing all these different characters to fight this druid who's controlling the world, and the way they kind of come together. It's a very not exactly Suicide Squad like, because there's no like agency, kind of like there's no agency controlling them, but also like they could probably die if they confront this druid. So it's really interesting. It's really cool. And of course, the art is just fantastic. Val Rodriguez and the team just doing some really amazing stuff, right? Whether it's something like this, where it feels more like a war sequence, like I can smell the napalm when in scenes like this. Very cool stuff. Or even then, just something more subtle, like an inside of the base, seeing the druid through the cameras, displaying its powers. Just there's so much more stuff that is not really in this preview pages. But man, Val Rodriguez and the team just really bringing some wicked stuff onto the page, whether it be the fights, the magic, people getting hurt. I think the druid has a lot of really cool powers. I'm not too familiar with like the extent of the druid's powers. I think that's some of the things that I want to go back and revisit, because he can turn, he can make people, as you can see here, pull back the art, either light them on fire, turn them into like trees, just kind of like sprawl out from inside of them. And we saw that in the first episode as well, in the first issue as well. Yeah, so this is really cool. And we keep getting introduced to a few more characters. The Roman soldier comes back in this one, which I'm really excited for. As I mentioned, I think this book came out when the Roman Empire was at its height as far as the memes. So I thought it was very good timing. So yeah, really cool stuff. I can't wait to go pick up this physically at my shop. Very lucky to have these review items. So hello everyone, Dan here from the Next Issue Podcast. On today's video, I'll be doing a review for The Oddly Pedestrian Life of Christopher Chaos number 6. This is a new book from DarkHorseComics. Let's take a look at the creative team before we get into this book. This book is based on a story, on an idea by James Tynion IV, written by Tate Bromble, with art by Isaac Goodhart, colors by Miguel Muerto, and letters by Aditya Bidikar. Hopefully now by the 6th issue, I'm saying Isaac's last name correctly. So here is the end of the first arc of this book. After this issue, we'll have a couple of issues done by a different artist, Sue Lee, who is also a fantastic artist. So let's talk about this one. In this issue, Christopher discovers the history of monster kind, and through that learns that he isn't so alone in the world after all. That's what he's experienced all his life, what many before him have also experienced. Maybe he's not going to cower and hide anymore. Maybe he needs to fight back, not only for himself and his friends, but for all those who come before them and have lost their lives. Yeah, this is the issue that I've been waiting for, right? Since we met Christopher outside, sitting outside of his house, um, just depressed, not knowing who he was, not knowing what he was there for, not knowing his purpose. We've seen him grow throughout these 6 issues, gathering friends, gathering allies, but also gathering more knowledge and the courage to finally stand up and fight. And that's what we get in this issue. I won't go too deep into it. I don't want to spoil anything for anyone, but just know that I really enjoyed the way that the team has brought the Christopher Chaos arc kind of full circle from where we started. Just really great. All the characters are a lot of fun. We get to see a lot of their abilities displayed in this issue as well. We gotten some teases, and we've never really seen them all kind of work together. Uh, but I think this Monster Squad, if you will, I think it's really fun. Has a lot of heart, and I think even though these characters are a little dysfunctional, I think they work together very well, and that's what makes this a lot of fun. Another thing that makes this incredibly amazing is uh, Goodhart's art. I love, especially here, where we see the zooming out from Christopher, and just how his face is covered. Right, we only see his glasses, and then we finally have a moment where he finally takes off his glasses. He comes out, and like, this is where we see his determination building up. And I just love how that is kind of told throughout the pace of this issue, right? He's looking around, everyone's making plans, but if you see here these empty word bubbles, that's because Christopher, and it's such a fun way to do this, right? Amongst all the chaos, you see the lettering and just really amazing stuff by Bidikar, where the lettering just kind of starts fading out and fading out until it's nothing, until it's just Christopher, right? That's just this kind of stuff is the only stuff you could do in comics. From there, we get onto the main event. Of course, we get a little bit more of the backstory of the detective and and I think this role is going to play out very interestingly in the next arc or in the future. So we'll definitely stay tuned for that. But just, I love how there's a wash of blue color, like blue lighting, blue mood lighting that kind of changes when we are going back to these memories. And I just love panels like this with all the just the red outline and the shapes of the characters in them, like just really cool stuff all throughout. There's some even cooler pages on ahead when we get to see the big battles. We get to see everyone's kind of abilities, if you will, unleashed. And of course, we get a little bit of tease of things to come in the future. We get a big reveal of a villain that's been building up. You'll probably see one of them in the covers at the end of the video, so stay tuned for that. So really cool stuff. I just love it. I love the character designs. Everything comes together so well. I can't wait to see what comes after this. I can definitely understand why this was expanded into an ongoing even before it was out, because this book is really good. So really enjoy it. We have reviews for every issue prior to this. Go check those out. We'll also probably put out a one of those larger videos where we kind of put all of them together. I think people enjoy that, and I think it's a good way to for you guys to catch all of them all at the same time. So if you have read this issue, let me know what you thought about it down in the comments. As always, thank you for watching, everyone. Remember to share, like, subscribe, hit the bell so you know when we go live. That is most Saturdays, 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. Stay tuned. We have more comic reviews, trailer reactions, TV recaps, all that fun stuff in the channel. Thanks for watching, everyone. Bye-bye.